Telling you though, yesterday was crazy. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles, y'all. I am your host, Kalari GXE, aka 10, and I'd like to say happy day after Thanksgiving or leftover sandwich day for some of us. We got to enjoy a lot of good leftovers, a lot of good cooking. And I know a lot of people were probably expecting pictures of the food I cooked, and I took some, but I was just like, you know what? That's not what yesterday was about. It was about relaxing, enjoying good food with the family, and a lot of people were putting out pictures and bragging, and maybe y'all shouldn't. I seen the pink Pepto Bismol glue. I seen several mac and cheese disasters, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I get that some of you like that crispy burnt edge to your mac and cheese, but your whole top shouldn't look like you put chocolate sauce on it. And some of you really went there with horrible cuisines, just bragging on social media about it. And the black mama in me was like, baby, no. I was too busy eating. I was not into be on social media putting all the food we ate. We knew we ate good. My family was happy. Thank you for the subscription, sweetie. But on a less wholesome note about yesterday, some of y'all was showing your ass, and I'm gonna call you out tonight about it because it was very frustrating dealing with the whole idea that how dare Americans celebrate Thanksgiving because y'all aren't nuanced. It's like I explained to a young man on our other podcast that a lot of you, especially overseas, like to think of America as one giant mass of cowboys and natives, and nobody else seems to matter to you, and you say things to Americans as if we're all just one mind and one conscious instead of a melting pot of cultures that have to coexist together. And one of the vibes that was out there was about how people shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving because of how natives feel. And I get it. A lot of you were spoon fed that whitewash bullcrap in school about the pilgrims and stuff. Thanksgiving evolved from that long ago. Welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. I hope you had a good day yesterday. I hope you're having a good day today. But a lot of you think that Thanksgiving is only about that gathering with those Puritans who ended up being horrible to the natives. And you make it about that issue instead of realizing that it's just a day of gathering. It's a day of thanks. And for a lot of us who understand how precious life is, especially after the last few years, losing our family to pandemics, some of us losing family to hate, knowing that our names could be the next hashtag. So when we gather together to sit and eat or just have a small venue with the people we love, that is our way of saying we survived this and we're thankful for that. And some of you don't get it. And he had this girl in Australia who decided to weigh in and target black people because, in her words, before she deactivated because we weren't having her nonsense, she follows enough black people to where she needed to impart her white wisdom on us. I'm going to tell you something. If you're not black trying to tell black people how to live our lives, you might need to just shut the fuck up. That is the best advice I can give you on this. Any sage wisdom you think you have for us about how we handle things in this country is unneeded. We've been doing this for 400 plus years. I'm pretty sure your apparently woke all of a sudden ideals aren't going to do anything for us. And you came hard and you got checked, and instead of reflecting, you deactivated because you couldn't take all that smoke. And her whole mindset was, well, it's not fair for black people to be celebrating Thanksgiving in face of what natives go through. And I understand highlighting what indigenous Americans are still suffering through. Everything from missing native women and men, from crimes that happen on reservations, to the fact that we still have Native Americans living on reservations. There are a lot of things we need to focus on. Having Deb Halloran as an elected cabinet member is just a small step in doing the right thing. Undoing what the last fucking guy, because that's what I'm calling him, did. Getting those pipelines stopped. There's so much we can do to not only honor my ancestors, because some people forget that a lot of African Americans have roots with Native tribes. My great grandfather, and I tell people this story because I need people to understand how insidious hate is, was taken from his tribe, rehomed, and supposedly re-educated to be raised in a Catholic household, stripped of his name, given a new Christian name. And then when he fell in love with my grandmother, a free woman, those Catholic relatives of his disowned him. Because for them, they were trying to raise him as a proper white man, even though he wasn't white. And how dare he fall in love with a black woman. They still had 7 kids, whose kids continued on. But that was the reality of my situation. And my family still celebrated Thanksgiving. That was a day of meeting up with fucking colonizers. It had nothing to do with the freaking pilgrims. It had everything to do with our survival. Our constantly being grateful that we are still here. And some of you don't understand that. And some of you speak for groups you think you need to be loud for. And instead of worrying about how indigenous people feel, especially if you're still cheering on Mima and pumping up her nonsense, you should be working on yourself. Because some of you will claim anti-racism and claim to be woke and then say the most ignorant, closed-eyed, closed-minded things. And I'm sick of it. And then you don't like to be checked. And instead of facing the lesson that you should have took from this, because black women, especially yesterday, had her number and got the hashtag white women stepping out of bounds, I think it was called, trending. But instead of taking that lesson, Little Miss Australia, you bounced. And it's because y'all can't take the heat. Y'all think you're down enough to say things to us like you got it like that, but you can't take it back. And that's how you know you're not down, you're not anti-racist, and you're not ready for real conversations. Australia is far from a country that can be lecturing anybody on racism. It wasn't even last year. Popular talent program got dinged because these guys, 5 of them, decided to go in blackface as the Jackson 5. Had no problem in this day and age in blackface. So yeah, I don't think I need you to be telling me how to celebrate another day of surviving in my country, Little Miss Land Down Under. Just shush. And that goes for so many of you on social media. Hey G Feldman, thank you and welcome to the chat. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people are trying a bit too hard. Some of you are really trying because you're trying to learn how to be an anti-bigot, how to navigate a newer society where things are no longer acceptable that were, and things are, changing. But then some of you are faking that funk, and then you don't like to be called out of. You swear up and down you stand for BLM because you put it in your profile. But the moment black people tell you, hey, this is what we need, please hear us, you ignore it. Case in point, these last few days, we have had 2 major trials in our country. Kyle, the murderer in Kenosha Rittenhouse, who got off after murdering 2, injuring a 3rd. And thank God the 3 lynchers of Ahmaud Arbery are now going to hopefully do a lot of time, if not get out of jail at all. Because they chased that man down, they murdered him. But I really got highlights from the people who took it one for the team and watched it, just how insidious the language the lawyers were using to try to demonize the person who is murdered by hate. And we have to work on making sure that people like that no longer feel comfortable doing it. I don't care if they were a defense attorney. The moment you dehumanize somebody whose life was snuffed out by your client's bigotry, I have nothing for you but ire. And when white people ask me, what can we do to change this? You need to be down with voter initiatives because that shit matters. Elected officials are what makes sure that men like that never feel comfortable jumping in their pickup trucks, chasing down the jogger that they just feel don't belong here, and murdering them. And we need better justices who won't let a fucking 17-year-old murderer get away with that. You just want change and you just say slogans like defund the police. So you already want to take a group that doesn't make a lot, that already handles things like social calls, which they should not do. We definitely need to be paying social workers more money to go out on calls for mental health issues, for kids with neurodivergent issues. But instead, we send the police, who are the first thought sometimes, depending on the neighborhood, to act aggressively. We definitely need better funded, better trained police. A police officer should have more certifications, more sensitivity training, and more viewing people as citizens to protect, no matter what they look like. But we're not there. And instead, we have unions that allow them to get away with murder. We have to stop this. And the only way to stop it is not by touting people who want to defund, like fucking Rashida Tlaib, who I am so working hard to find somebody who's not only going to primary, but beat her. But I am still sorely tempted to run myself at this point. I really don't want to get into politics, and I'm being 100% honest about that. It's not that I don't think I could run and win. It's not that I don't even care about budgeting and running a town and legislation. The pressures of being in politics is a lot. And I think a lot of people think, oh, it's easy. Look at the last fucking guy that did it. It's not easy. Not everybody is gifted in the realm of being able to navigate such. And I don't want to be a waste of a seat like some people are. I honestly think that when a person is good and wants to do right by their constituents, they're often left in the cold too. That's how we end up with clowns like Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib. Corey's out there giving stories about carrying a baby like a football, and it's like, how do these people get elected? They've made it clear that their whole goal is to destabilize our current party and to take over with more look at me clowns. And we can't afford that. And I know people are like, well, the Dems should be more like the right. And the right will align with a piece of garbage that tells them that they can be pieces of garbage. We cannot do that. The Democrats represent all of us, and we're not always all going to get along. We're not always going to like each other, but we all stand for A, not dehumanizing each other, hopefully, not harassing each other, hopefully, and working together so that we all get to a better place. That's the whole point of being a Democrat. We're not all going to see eye to eye on things. But as long as we're all striving for the betterment of our fellow man, whether we like them or not. Don't look at the program and say, oh, gee, I hope nobody who votes red gets the help of that. I can't afford anything like that. Yeah, as much as it irks me that they'll sometimes benefit better from something, I don't want to see any child suffer because of their parents' evil ideology. I don't want to see any other human suffer. And that's the difference between us, hopefully, and I say us because I know y'all in the chat feel me on this, and the rest of this nation that seems to be wholeheartedly okay with trying to rein in fascism. We got lucky that the last idiot was Keystone Cop level, but we won't get lucky again. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to stop amplifying voter suppressive stuff. I know it's really easy because it gets you a lot of clicks, it gets you a lot of engagement and likes to amplify, to even call out these negative idiots. You gotta stop amplifying them though. People want to depress the vote, talking about, I don't think the black voters should vote Democrat anymore. They're not keeping their promises. It has been 9 months, 10 months now into his new presidency. He got inaugurated in at the end of January. In less than the time it takes to gestate a full-on human fetus, he has implemented a vaccine rollout, gotten us more stimulus money, started the tax care credit, ended a war, constantly putting out the fires that the last fucking guy put in. And all people want to do is amplify the freaking bros who are still salty that their old dude couldn't get past the mustard, and constantly want to do death by 1,000 cuts to our VP. Don't think I haven't noticed the hit pieces. Oh, she said the word V in French. She's trying to be pretentious. Oh, how dare she buy a pot? Kamala Harris is known for cooking. And when I highlighted the roaster that I used on Thanksgiving that has been passed down to me, that our family has had since before I was born, that is still in nice premium working condition because I take care of my shit, I'm guaranteeing you that Kamala's daughter, or maybe even her niece, will end up with that pot, if not her grandchildren. Because some of y'all want to play her, and when they hear me say that, she doesn't have kids. She has 2 kids that she adopted when she married Doug. They consider her mother. And any kids they have will be her grandchildren. Some of you want to play around with words and ding blended families. I see you. The nastiness has been ridiculous for the last few years, but it's even worse now that you see that not only did we put the crack in that glass ceiling, but she's going to be the one to shatter it because she's genuine. And we are so tired of y'all faking the funk for people like Tosi Tonya Eater and Mima, who lied about being Native. But you take genuine articles like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris for granted. We're not dealing with that no more. And some of you who consider yourself K-Hive need to understand that we're going to be a targeted group. So you need to weigh what battles you amplify or you're going to burn out. As long as we come with facts, that's fine. But you don't got to argue with every troll. You definitely don't got to argue with any cosplay socialist. Pay them dust. These kids are going to keep on getting socialism wrong, keep on getting life wrong. Don't give them the attention that their mommy and daddy maybe should have. And it really is a nice pot, G. Feldman. And exactly, voting whether you benefit from something or not is how we get a better society. It is so tiring to me, the not in my backyard types, the NIMBYs as I call them, because they swear that they're good Christians or good whatever, but ask them to put a neighborhood building that can help the homeless near them. Ask them to do anything that might make them feel uncomfortable, and they won't go for it because they're not good people. They don't care about helping others. They only care about protecting themselves and ingratiating themselves. And economics-wise, we have allowed this selfish, me, all about me bullshit to go on so long that the economy is still trying to figure out where it's going to go. We let corporations dictate how our legislation's going to be, how jobs are paid out. People are struggling that shouldn't have had to struggle. The middle class, which is a joke now, is almost eroded in some ways. To the point where if people don't even think making $500,000 is wealthy anymore because you're spending that much just to exist, just to have a dwelling. We have become so beholden to this bullshit system that it's breaking us. And we need to have legislators that can not only navigate and clean up this mess, but keep us on the path to where we are no longer in that danger zone. We need more Lauren Underwoods who actually draft legislation, understand what our constituents need, and go beyond. Who think beyond where she lives because she understands that the things that can help her constituents can help people in Texas and Michigan and New York. Some of you only amplify people who can get on BuzzFeed because they have a whiteboard and they can stick it to the man verbally. But if they're not drafting up legislation, They're not doing anything that's worthwhile for us. I don't need people who are more known for their stunts. Hence why I don't prop up anybody that's known as the Squad. And while everybody's talking about Bobblehead Bobber apologizing for her very anti-Muslim talk, which, surprise, surprise, she's a racist. You knew she's going to say stupid crap. Stop amplifying her. Ilhan Omar isn't much better as a representative either. She has a lot of financial issues that, as a former bookkeeper, I side-eyed. Money mismanagement is a very shady thing to have looming over you as a representative. Having people on your campaign that probably shouldn't have been being paid as well. But also, she gets into fights with her constituents, talking about they're jealous of her. I'm not saying young politicians can't do the thing. Sharice Davis has proven that. Lauren Underwood has proven that. Sarah Lerner has proven that. There are plenty of young politicians who are up and coming, and people who aren't so young but are considered young, like Hakeem Jeffries, that are doing their job and beyond. We have Beto O'Rourke, who is running for governor of Texas, who I feel cares about Texas definitely way more than Abbott. These are the people you should be amplifying constantly. Yet I'm hearing y'all talking about Bobblehead Bobber and what she said to Ilhan Omar, and it's like, this isn't news to me. Stop giving this hated harpy a platform. They're not worth my time, and I don't want to see her on my timeline. And that's for the Squad. They need to reconsider a lot of their stances, because if you're going to be a roadblock to progress and claim it's because they're not offering you everything you want in the bill, you don't understand legislation, and you're a waste of a seat. The thing with politics is, as much as we want to get certain things in, it's not feasible. We have to negotiate. And if you want certain things put through, you got to vote for people who are willing to do it. Right now, we do not have enough in our Senate to pass Build Back Better the way it should be passed. And I've seen Representative Jamal out there talking about how, we need the Build Back Better bill to have, I think it was paid leave. As much as I would love paid leave, I'm still young enough to have kids. I understand that maternity leave is an important thing that our country is still very behind on. But it's not a hill I'm going to die on when senior care is in it, and that helps a lot more people than because I'm not having a baby anytime soon. But even if I was, we'll be all right. We know how to manage in my house. I think people need to start realizing that it has to go beyond you. Because even if you don't feel a direct benefit from a legislation, the fact that neighborhoods get better, the fact that people feel more secure, there is less chances that people are going to act out, need damaging escapes. You want a better society, you have to think beyond yourself. And some people, they swear they're ready, but their eyes are shut. They're not really ready. They just like to say they are. And you've got to start calling these people out because they are the loudest. They're the ones who will call themselves a Warren Dem or put a little tooth with a blood symbol on it, but call out the K-High for fact-checking people. They're the ones who are still part of the Yang Gang, even though he's pretty much said he is willing to get in bed with racists to get his agenda across. And I'm sorry. I'm at the point of zero tolerance for anybody who wants to be in politics who think any partner is okay. Because after what's happened these last few years, I don't trust anybody who's still conservative. I don't trust anybody who's openly racist, because why should I? Y'all are already going to put my life on the line anyway. Why would I be allied with somebody like that? Why would I want to vote for somebody who wants to ally with somebody like that? Andrew Yang is a waste of a good air, as far as I'm concerned. He's a waste of space for me. And he would serve his community a lot better going back into business and being a better businessman. Because politics ain't it for him unless he plans on joining the right completely. And good luck with that. Some of y'all be faking that funk. You get into these standhoods and think that you've got to battle. I'm not here to battle. I'm here to do the right thing, whether people I like benefit from it or not. If you're not coming with that attitude, I don't consider you an ally. And I'm always blunt about that. I didn't like Joe Biden. And it's not that I hated his character. I thought he was awesome when he was vice president with Barack Obama. But there was a lot of factors that made him not even in my top 4 candidates when he ran in the primaries. But as it came about, and I talked to elders especially about why they went for Joe, and when I wrote out why a lot of black people felt safer voting for somebody we knew, not only had the political chops, but the compassion, who talked to us like human beings, who wants to be the president of everybody, and understanding that after Barack Obama picking that rapist white supremacist, we had to navigate through y'all's fuckery and vote for somebody that would do the least harm to us. When I put it that way, a lot of people finally understood what it means to survive as a black moderate. Because a lot of you don't understand what it means to be a black moderate. I might not always like or agree with a politician, but the politician that will do the best good and the least harm will always get more of my attention than any grandstander, anybody who makes unfeasible promises, and anybody who might just look a part but can't really play that part. And we had a lot of those characters last year. We had Woo Woo Wilma with her crystals and her holistic healing stuff. We had Tulsi, the Russian asset. We had a lot of people who were them in name only because they could use our resources. And seeing through a lot of that bullshit and battling with a lot of you stands was exhausting. And I realized I don't need to do that anymore. You can keep relitigating what happened, but we already inaugurated a new president, and I am full bore here to support him and get him more legislation done, which means voting next year when all the elections come up here in the midterms. I have my 4-year plan because I learned back in 2010 when we had midterms that people didn't turn out for. And when we had McConnell point blank blatantly hold up a Supreme Court seat and say, I am going to stymie everything you want to do, that I need to do what I can to get that man's power lessened, if not stopped altogether. And I'm tired of feeling like I'm alone on this. We have the ability to keep that Sith Lord out of being in charge from now on and make sure they don't replace him with another dumb fuck that wants to mess us up. And after the last 4 years, we cannot afford a Republican takeover ever again. They cost us so much. A preventable pandemic. One of the things I was thankful for yesterday, not only for being here, but that my family has been vaccinated for the most part. Everybody in my house got their shots 2 times. That we are doing what we can to protect ourselves from this pandemic that shouldn't have even been. But that we also have an administration now that won't downplay, that won't hide stuff from us, and that will hire and has hired competent people again. Because the last guy didn't care. And we cannot afford to have him and his sycophants running things. And welcome to the chat, Beanie. It is so frustrating to see people, especially in rural areas, give in to that McConnell mentality, give in to the Abbott mentality. But they have been brainwashed and trained from the cradle to believe that. And it doesn't matter if their lot in life get any better. They are foot soldiers for fuckery. And we have to make sure that even if we don't like or agree with them, that we vote for things that are better for them too. They're still going to bitch about it. They still have Fox News spinning all the good into negative. I'm not there to worry about that. I'd rather be in a world where we're all getting progress and they still hate us and bitch, than a world where we're not getting progress and they get to dominate and lives are lost. We have to think beyond what only affects us if we're going to get anywhere. And we have to take these next 4 years seriously. Too many people are already writing their think pieces about how the midterms aren't going to go the Dems' way. Oh, the pipeline's flowing and gas prices are a little bit lower and that's bad for Biden. You got these people weighing in with these shit-ass opinions, these not-so-hot takes, these freaking brain goo takes. And they're being amplified by people who are not only just raging at them, but people who are taking this seriously. You just got to stop wasting your energy on this. Find out who are running in your local elections, or if you dare, run for something yourself, and let's go. Stop wasting time and energy on these ridiculous hit pieces, because they're not going to stop. These people profited off of fear and chaos, death and destruction. And now they don't know what to do because we're tuning them out. So instead of bothering with the angry energy towards that, focus on your 4-year plan. It is so vital that we make these assholes eat their words. I feel it in my bones that we can do this. I feel it deep within me that a lot of elections that people thought wasn't going to matter, people are going to show up because we're sick of it. We're seeing those viral videos of school boards allowing wackadoos to just get up and waste people's time. We've seen representatives make outlandish stories about cradling a baby thrown at them during a Ferguson riot, and it wasn't a riot, it was a protest, and them cradling them like a football because homegirl wasn't right in the head anyway, and I'm still not sure how she got elected. But if you're tired of the clownery, y'all got to do something about it. And it's your bare minimum. It's giggle worthy, right? To hear somebody who supposedly, Cori Bush says, somebody, while she was at the Ferguson protest, and at the time she was a nurse, because obviously nurses just, you can tell them by look. She's walking during this protest. Somebody threw a baby out the car at her. She grabbed it like a football, ran around the corner of a building to check on it. It's like, how? How is that a thing?
I think she was having a Super Bowl dream.
Yeah. I think she was on something as far as I'm concerned. But this is the kind of nonsense people have elected. And this is the kind of nonsense that blocks bills that we need to get passed because it doesn't have some kind of caveat that she wanted. Because she doesn't understand legislation and she's a waste of a seat. So if you're tired of seeing wastes of seats, you need to vote. You need to vet who you're voting in. And stop trying to find the perfect politician. They don't exist. We are human beings. You're not always going to agree with a politician. You're not always going to like what they have to say if they're human. But if they can get the job done for our communities, if they do the least harm and will uplift all of us, no matter what we look like. I told Axiom this story the other day, and I might have mentioned it on the cast or two here. Senator Burr, I don't get along with him. I don't like the fact that he sold stocks right before the news of the pandemic dropped. But one of the things his office said to me when I needed help with kiddo and my passports was, even if you don't vote for us, because I told them point blank, I don't vote for you. You're a constituent. It's our duty to help you. I realized that by going to them and getting that help, that is what a politician does. It shouldn't matter if you're a registered Democrat, a registered Independent, a registered Republican. Your politicians are there to do a job to serve your community. And if they're not doing that job, they need to be replaced by somebody who will. And it's exhausting. How many of you think that it's not important until stuff like what happens in Kenosha happens? Until stuff like the trial in Georgia happens. We have to be vigilant and do our bare minimum in politics. Voting is bare minimum. Some of you don't even want to do that, and then you just want to bitch about everything. You know who I feel gets to bitch about everything? The people who organize. Whether they win, lose, or draw. The people who vote no matter what in every election. The people who stay politically invested have the right to complain when things aren't right. The ones of you who want to sit at home or can't be motivated off your couch, you don't have a right to bitch about anything. Not a bill, not a piece of legislation, because you're not doing your bare minimum to make sure we get this done. You just have all that mouth about what's not being done. How dare you? If you can't do your part, how dare you can criticize anybody? You want to bitch about Mansion and Cinema, but you're not doing anything to lessen the power that they supposedly have. Because they're the new boogeyman of the Democrats. I wouldn't have even known who Kristen Cinema was if she wasn't constantly brought up about people. And guess what? She votes for more things than your squad favorites. But you don't want to talk about that. She gets more stuff done than AOC. And she's not faking the front about kissing up to her lobbyists and donors. That's a sad part of politics that we haven't been able to sorry about that, divest from. But if you want more politicians that are not invested in by lobbyists, who aren't gonna run off and hang out with rich donors who don't care about their constituents, you've got to vote for people like that. But some of you just don't want to even do bare minimum, or worse yet, you stand the worst people. One of the people I love following, I hold dear, is Sasha. She gets a lot of ire from people because she's in Pennsylvania and she's weighed in on the Pennsylvania elections that's coming up. I don't know whether she's supporting Kenyatta or Lamb currently. I think for her, she's going to go with whoever wins the primary, but she is very anti-John Fetterman. After learning about John Fetterman, I wouldn't vote for John Fetterman. And some of you are like, well, you know, what he did wasn't so bad. As a black mom, especially, what he did was unacceptable for me. He got in his truck, chased down a young black male, and held him at gunpoint. After what happened in Kenosha, after all the names I've done named on this cast lost to hate and legalized lynching, it is unacceptable for a representative to have that kind of history, that thinks that he can do something like that. He wasn't deputized. He didn't have any right besides, I'm a white guy and I can do this, to do what he did. And I want to see less men like that have access to power. So no, I don't support Fetterman's run. And I see the ire that people are giving Sasha for sticking to our guns. And you know what? She's not going to budge on this. Most of us aren't going to budge on this. Because like I said about Tamir in my mental health vlog, I know you don't see us as human when you do stuff like that. You don't see the fact that when we think of that young man that got chased down, we're seeing our sons, we're seeing our brothers, we're seeing our uncles, we are seeing our family. And we're tired of being a hashtag because you think it's perfectly acceptable to see a black body running and chase it down. And it's amazing to me how people don't see it that way, G. Feldman. How people are like, no, it can't be racist. He apologized. No, he didn't. He apologized for the people that felt a certain way. He still didn't see what he did is wrong. He still has not come out and fully said, I understand in the context of what I did, the fear that that young man must have had, having somebody like me chase him down with a weapon like that, knowing that his life could have been taken out. He doesn't have that wherewithal because he doesn't care. And I'm sick and tired of y'all amplifying stuff like that. You have plenty of people who not only walk the walk or talk the talk. Personally speaking, I am more of a fan of Conor Lamb because he doesn't play. I know more about him than Malcolm Kenyatta, even though I'm not anti-Malcolm Kenyatta. I feel like both of them have a good shot at this. But when I look, especially at the way Conor Lamb has been pushing back against the press, misquoting who his donors are and everything else, I realized that not only does he understand the situation, but he's not going to be pushed around. And he doesn't have a history of chasing down black bodies with guns. So that's a perk too. And there's no weird quasi-justice dem ties, which I fear Malcolm Kenyatta may or may not have. I'm still learning. So I don't want to put that on him if that's not true. But I get certain vibes of people who will align with somebody because they think it'll get them more views. And I can't deal with politicians like that anymore. I don't want any more stunters wasting a good representative slot. Even though we currently have a House majority, we can't keep it that way. If we keep filling our seats, we'll waste the space. We need both Congress and House reps that are serious about doing their job. Serious about not only reading and making legislation, but passing it. Anything else is a waste of a spot. And I know people are like, well, Pennsylvania's blue anyway. Pennsylvania has rural sections, just like here in Michigan. And there are a lot of loud idiots who think we need to bring this back to Magaland. I was happy, even though a lot of my kin died from this self-imposed plague. I can't have change. Change scares me. This is what we're up against. So we need to elect politicians that will help even those poor souls, but aren't going to indulge their nonsense. Who will hopefully help us raise generations beyond them. I know some people are like, we can't hope for the young kids because look at Rittenhouse, and I get it. When you look at people who are indoctrinated by hate, it's easy for you to believe that no change can't happen. But instead of amplifying pieces of garbage like Kyle, he's doing his press tour, just like I called it, just living up that limelight and then lying and saying he was for BLM, which is, why would you go to a BLM protest and murder people if you were for Black Lives Matter? You're a fucking liar. But instead of amplifying that garbage, there are plenty of young men and women who are learning, who are walking the path of being anti-bigots. Amplify them. There are people who take their time to not only explain science and things like zoology and astrology and stuff they love, musicians that are amazing. Amplify them. We can't stop hoping for a better future just because there are a lot of loud, bad apples. We pick past them and we amplify the good. That is what we should have been doing. But that is what we definitely need to be doing from this point on. Because if we shut down just because there are people out there like Kyle Rittenhouse, we'll never amplify. The three young people, and I should have got their names, and I'll hopefully have that information for the next cast. There are three young children that have the highest IQs in the world currently, and they're all young black kids. I say that with a sense of pride because there was belief system in our country not even 70 years ago, eugenics wise, that said we didn't have the capacity to have a high IQ. And there are still people who believe in that eugenics bullshit, who would take a person because they have Down syndrome or their ethnic backgrounds and say they shouldn't breed or shouldn't have a functioning life. And we have to get away from that closed-mindedness. One of the things that really kills me about society today is the lack of a tribe. The lack of a community that works together, takes care of each other, and nobody feels out of place. And I know some people thought, well, that's how we get power. We break up that community thing. We have people fighting each other. And as long as I get mine, who cares? That destabilization has been so destructive for us. And we need to start figuring out ways to come together and take care of each other and take care of things beyond us. It's the only way our species is going to survive. Some of the best nations were ones that functioned together, historically speaking. When you think about things like the Spartans, why some men still get freaking their jollies and actually happy when they think of things like 300. Some of you will celebrate the Spartans, but have absolutely no idea what that culture was truly about. Because once you were one, that was what you were, and you were taken care of by your fellow Spartans. And it was like that for so many societies. And we have to figure out, even in our melting pot, how to do this, because it is key to our survival. Uplifting and making sure that people have security. You will worry about crime, but you know why crime is high in some places? Because poverty is high in some places. Not allowing people access to health, education, food, and shelter, of course they're going to turn to that. And when you give them bare minimum, what do you think they're going to do? It's funny how the people who want to do the not in my backyard attitude will bitch about high crime in certain areas, but not want to do their bare minimum and tax wise to make sure that people are funded so that they won't feel necessary to do that kind of stuff. It all matters, y'all. And too many people don't want to see it because, it inconveniences me. They are very selfish. And exactly, Tupac made it clear in so much of his music about the real. And too many people will listen to it and still not get what he was saying. It was the same for us with Malcolm X, whose daughter lost her life 2 days ago. There was just so much going on, y'all. But Malcolm X made it clear about where racism was, because that was a big thing that I rallied against last week. Anything south of Canada, and even Canada itself. I watched a video yesterday of policemen who were supposed to be trained up there, purposely macing an already compliant mental health patient who just happened to be black. No area is free of bigotry. And anybody with too much bravado in their badge can be bad for your system. And overhauls are needed everywhere, because too many of you still see us only as threats, only as animals to be tasered, tased, shot, and it's got to stop. It is exhausting. I used to want to go to Canada. I had a plan in 2015 before everything dropped. I had paperwork filled out. I had sponsors who were going to guarantee that my son and I would find work and everything else, because I wanted out of here. My vibes weren't lying. I just felt like I needed an extra strategy. I stayed here instead, which was the hardest decision I made, but I ended up being glad I did, because I realized there is no country that I'm going to be able to run from racism from. There's racism so deep, it's even prevalent in the continent that my ancestors came from. That's why they can sell bleaching products to people. The best thing I can do to combat hate is to be a better person myself, hopefully raise a better person, and keep it moving. I can't try and find a Wakanda. As much as I would love to have one, it doesn't exist for us outside entertainment. But what I can do is work with other people who want that sense of community, who want to do right by people, whether we know them or not, and keep it moving. That's the best thing you can do if you want to be the quote unquote woke. But too many of you want to title yourself as woke, want to say your eyes are open, as you shut your eyes to all the shit that's going on around you, and it's not okay. You see the hit pieces against MVP and President Biden. You know it's not true. Use your voice to counter that without amplifying the garbage. You see the voter suppression tactics, even from your face, because a lot of journalists have been really using their platforms to amplify garbage. People I've blocked and people I still follow, but I'm starting to wonder why I'm doing that at this point. Who will say stuff to depress the vote. We have to stop amplifying these people. They're paid doomsayers, and I'm sick of seeing their voices be the narrative. We have to go past their nonsense. We cannot afford to sleep on this anymore. We cannot afford the apathy. And we cannot afford to continue this cycle of fuckery, y'all. If you cannot politically invest yourself in just the bare minimum, you will see how bad it'll get. And all it takes is for you to just go down your ballot. Even if you don't know who's running, there are tools now. It is a lot easier for people to go on Ballotpedia, look up a person. Most politicians, worth their grain of salt, have websites now. There's absolutely no reason for you not to be informed, especially since I see some of you will be on social media talking about Real Housewives or whatever, 90 Day Fiance, whatever. The only reason why I know some of these shows' names is because they trend constantly. So you can give your energy to that. You can take a few minutes to look up what somebody's policies are. You can take a look at what legislation is being passed, whether it's a tax, whether it's funding for something. All of these things are important. You want to bitch about your library crumbling, but I guarantee you, when the amendment was on your ballot, you was like, I don't understand the wording of this. I don't want to vote for it. And if you're in a town like mine, because there are a lot of towns in Michigan which are ridiculous and love to use old-timey language. We literally have a Christmas town not even 5 minutes away from here. I'm sure they get it worse on their ballot. I still take the time to figure out that old English gibberish so that I know what I'm voting for. Because it's important. Because I don't want my city falling down around me. Because I can go 20 minutes to the left of me and go to a town that's still struggling with drinking water, or 20 minutes to the right of me and deal with a town that has freaking sundown laws. So I understand how important the ballot is, because I don't want my town to fall apart, and I don't want my town to be overpopulated by sundown types. And if you are like me, you need to be doing that and going beyond if you can. And it's like I said, I understand those who have social anxiety. Organizing with social anxiety is one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And I am grateful for things like text banking, which takes a lot of pressure off because I hate talking on the phone. Being able to write, email, use this show, getting people motivated to vote is so important. And it's bare minimum for me, because I should run for something. But I like people to understand that I'm honest about my mental limitations. It's the only reason why I haven't taken that bid seriously. I would rather put somebody there that can handle the pressure. But if I knew there was no other choice, yeah, I'd run. Because I think it's important to have people who want to do the job in that job. In fact, I wish I had gotten into politics 20 years ago, before the nervous breakdowns, before anything else, when I was fresh-minded and really focused. I used to budget for a living. Crunching numbers was my life. That's why I know when people are called out on bullshit. I told this lady the other day, sweet lady Jocelyn, who interviewed me, about how I started out in 2015 gravitating towards Senator Sanders at first because the free college sounded good, the health care for all sounded good, until I started crunching the numbers on the things he said. And I realized not only was the crap he was saying bullcrap and not fundable by any means or measures, but then his fans rubbed me the wrong way. And I realized that I was internalizing a lot of the negative, because for me, I got 30 years of negative Hillary Clinton press that I had to undo. And when I started really looking into her policies, into the stuff that she's been doing, I was like, I need to be supporting Hillary. Not only is she more qualified, but she's exactly what I want in a politician. And I'm not ashamed of that. Somebody who walks the walk, does the talk, gets the legislation passed when she was a senator. Somebody who is living and working amongst us when she didn't have to. Who sees us as human beings, who talks to us like human beings. And you wanted the Vermont senator whose only claim to fame is naming post officers who didn't want to pay his child support? Come on, y'all. When I took the time to do my due diligence and vet, I realized just how insidious it is. How hateful people are and how much lies are pushed as facts about certain politicians. And I'm watching it play out or try to play out in real time. And for everybody who falls for that, oh, Kamala Harris bought a $300 pot, there are plenty more of us saying so. She's going to use that pot. It's her money. And who cares? You had 2 Stepford wife Barbies in the White House under that fucking guy who were running around with $75,000 handbags. You know Melania's weird surgeries were done on our dime, even though they were trying to lie and say, oh, she was sick. Yeah, she's sick, all right. All the fucking golfing that orange turd did was on the dime. He bankrupted the Secret Service. And you want to complain about the vice president who made her own money, spending her own money? Mind your business. Her coins are her coins. Mind your business. Because I guarantee you that $300 pot wasn't just a fluff item. It was an investment for somebody who cooks. And I guarantee you, if she's anything like my family, which I think she is, it will be passed down. Just like a lot of my stuff was passed down from my greats. Y'all got a lot of freaking nerve thinking that we're going to get upset because the vice president bought a fancy cookware item that she's going to use. But this is how insidious it is. And instead of spending my time amplifying those articles, I just said, hey, I'm going to pass down my pops, hopefully, to a grandchild or maybe a daughter if I have one. Maybe even my son if he ever decides he wants to cook instead of just eat and hover over me. But what I'm not going to do is mine other people's coins. That's not my business. And I'm not upset by that. Especially in light of previous administrations and what they spent on things. For real, y'all need to get it together with your anger and your priorities. Stop letting Fox propaganda dictate your feelings on a situation. Because I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't have cared about this in the first place. That's non-news. Exactly, Beans. Ben Carson probably spent a lot of money on stupid stuff. I'm just glad that he is no longer in a direct position to cause harm. Him being in charge of HUD for me was one of the worst decisions because you know Trump only gave him that appointment because he was black. It was such a racist appointment at this point that I couldn't believe people didn't make that connection. Oh, well, I need a black guy on my team. That Ben Carson's a team player. What can I put him in? I don't want him in foreign policy. I don't know. I don't need him in medicine, even though he's a brain surgeon. I'll put him in HUD. And what did he do while he was in HUD? Nothing. A lot of people that survived that administration, because there wasn't a lot of them, he fired a lot. It was a revolving door with that idiot. But the few that did survive, what did they do of note besides ingratiate themselves and steal the money that was gathered for this pandemic? You got Steve Mnuchin who ran off with millions of PPP loans. These people need to answer for that because they robbed us blind in the 4 years under that fucking guy. So yeah, I am grateful that they are no longer in charge. I'm glad that the clown show has finally come to an end, but I am mindful that it could happen again even worse. So I need y'all, if you're watching this on here or on YouTube or wherever, to take this seriously. Have your 4-year plan together. Run for something if you can. Organize if you can. And vote. It matters from your county to your state beyond. We need effective legislators because we cannot keep this. It's not sustainable at this point, y'all. It really isn't. Yeah, we don't care. Seriously, it's crazy. But yeah, it is going to take time, and hopefully enough of us are realizing our part so that we can work on it. I'm not expecting things to get 100% better in my lifetime. I'm working for things beyond me being here. I want it to where people are so complacent that they might take things for granted, but they never go backwards. And I've got to do my part to see that future happen. And I'm hoping yous will be there with me. But yeah, they do. The middle row white people are the worst because they know they don't really have it better, but they have just enough to where they can look down on people, and they think that pedestal is enough. But even they have to be taken care of as well. And that is why I vote the way I vote, even for those people that I don't particularly agree with. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you so much. I'm telling you, the hour flies by when I'm talking, and you have made it so great. Thank you for being in the chat with me today. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, heat up dinner. Our friend True will be on. Cake. He loves that cake. I made the chocolate cake, y'all. That came out so good. I'm telling you. I hope you've had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you've have a happy weekend. If not, just relax. And if you're having, because I know right now is a mental health time for a lot of us. The SADs are a reality for a lot of us. Don't beat yourself up and find ways to distress and cope. Survival is so important, and you are important and you're needed. So please, if you're feeling low, find somebody to talk to. Find a way to get out of your head for a bit. But stay here. All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap it up. I love yous all so much, and I will see yous next week. Bye.